Glenfiddich, the world's most awarded single malt Scotch whiskey, is expertly crafted and made with extraordinary care. Each single malt is a work of perfection.
And we're back, Stripe Show Podcast, Part 2. Russell Knox, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure you go back, listen to Part 1. Great conversation with Russell about the state of professional golf. Really fascinating conversation. Now, this time, Part 2, let's get into why you are who you are, which is playing this game. 12 years. Russell's been on the PGA Tour, 2-time winner, WGC HSBC champions, and the Travelers.
Throw in the Irish Open in there too.
Irish Open. The Travelers, though, I love that place up at TPC Highland. That's a good spot.
It's a very underrated course. Well, I wouldn't even say that. In the last couple of years, I mean, they've attracted a great field every year. They've made improvements to the course. The back nine there is definitely one of the most exciting 9 holes that we play on the PGA Tour. A lot can happen. I mean, Streelman birdied the last 7 holes there to win once, and you can bogey the last 7 holes too. So it's a very exciting kind of high stress finish, which is great.
You know, one of the things you don't get a lot of credit for, and you should, is for years you've been a great iron player on the PGA Tour. And look, you have to be a great iron player out there to sustain some longevity out there. For 12 years, you've been out there. But strokes gained approach, that's a stat that we wear out as analysts, and the value of it. And yet here you are, top 30, top 40 every single year on the PGA Tour. What do you credit that to from an iron perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to hit the ball in the middle of the face, so I tend to do that, which is nice, so you can be very repeatable. I would say, like iron game wise, my type of speed is kind of relates well to iron play, and what I mean by that is, I mean I don't have tremendous speed with the driver, so I swing in control all the time, good balance. So because of that, my 8 iron here will go whatever 150 to 155, and it will go that every time. So I think sometimes the guys that have mega speeds with like off the driver hitting it 350, they might hit an 8 iron 160 and then 175. So I can't physically make my 8 iron go much further than it goes.
It's interesting you say that because, I mean, obviously a lot of amateurs are watching this, and from a technique standpoint, we're trying to get them to narrow down, into more of the center of the face. You guys don't have that problem per se. How often, just out of curiosity, how often would that ball roam off the center of the face in a round of golf, just on average? Would you catch it maybe slight toe, slight heel, whatever?
I barely will ever hit an iron off the toe.
Okay.
I occasionally, maybe slightly low on the heel, and I'll leave it slightly right. So yeah, I mean, of course it happens. I mean, what Hogan and Tiger always said, like, very few perfect shots, and that's true. Like, it's a game of misses. So my worst 8 iron obviously is going to be better than 20 handicaps worse 8 iron.
And I always say, like, one of the things with my audience is we're trying to improve the probability of impact. Like everything we do from a technique standpoint, you're trying to improve the probability of impact, path, face, attack angle, get it in the center of the face. And as you do that, all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, my good shots are better and my bad shots are not as bad. The dispersion comes in, and yet that just continues to be the case. The dispersion comes in for a professional golfer, but then also the distance control, which you alluded to, is so dialed in. But yet even on tour, you'll play with guys that all of a sudden it's like plus 10 in the air with an iron all of a sudden, where you don't necessarily get that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously everyone on the PGA Tour is good at most things, but yeah, some guys are going to be better iron players than others, some better drivers, short game, etc. So yeah, I mean, the guys, of course, over trap it, swing too hard, maybe lose balance. So yeah, I mean, there's still a massive difference in caliber of iron player on the PGA Tour, and when guys are really clicking, I mean, obviously Tiger's best ever. I mean, he hit his number all, like, just constantly.
Different
bang.
shapes in the
yeah,
number.
just pin high, under the hole, whatever. So just being able to control your speed, your tempo, balance, all that stuff definitely adds up to how good an iron player.
Let's hit a couple here. 150 yards. Share with my audience, Russell, maybe a couple of your key swing thoughts as you're hitting here.
Yeah, I mean, especially with an 8-iron, like I said, I just said the word balance. Balance to me is everything. When I grew up, I was looking at my kind of iron idols were Luke Donald.
Okay.
Phenomenal iron player for years. He always finished had that nice kind of high holding the
Hand just above the left shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. So
tour player finish.
Yeah. So when I'm hitting an 8-iron here, I mean, I'm not overly thinking about kind of like loading up or anything like that. I mean, I'm trying to stay very centered, almost like swinging just past my shoulder to shoulder here. So everything's in big control.
So hands up to the right shoulder, and then you turn through, and then the hands kind of go up to the left shoulder.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I like to, I allow you to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
When I'm out there, I need to my little pea brain, I need to dumb it down as simple as possible. So I'm just over the ball here, like decent setup, obviously, and I'm just trying to move the club up here and down here. And to be honest, the positions couldn't care less. So sometimes when I've played my best golf, I've had that one feeling of it might be like, okay, let's just get here to the finishing post. So I'm over it. I'm like, okay, 150. All I'm trying to do is hold my finish. So once I've done that, I feel like, okay, good. I've achieved what I wanted.
Where is the balance? If you had to say toe, heel, ball of the foot, where would you put it? Or is it just a feeling of this is, yep, that's it?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say I feel the balance in my feet. I mean, I have little skinny, small feet, so I don't really feel like I'm using the ground. Yeah, it's more just like my whole body in general. So I'm not like finishing like this. Like I want to stay very kind of centered, and I'm not moving back or forward much. It's just kind of be over it, really staying like centered over it.
It's interesting. One of the things you said is the feeling your hands are up here, like just there's a destination of your hands above your right shoulder, and it almost looks like you could take that and you could just turn and put it over here, and it's the same.
Correct.
It's like a mirror image.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like those are the destinations. I'm trying to turn to here, and then this happens, and then I try to match it up over on the other side.
I would say that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So make it as simple as possible.
Pretty straight, right to left, left to right. What do you see?
Mostly with irons, I see a little draw.
Just a touch of a draw.
I would say sometimes when I'm playing my best, the draw is always there.
Okay.
And then I have like the little, what I would call like a hold shot.
Okay.
Because I don't really, with an iron, I won't fade it much unless like I have to, like behind a tree or, say the pin was on the right and the wind was coming off the right, I'll tend to hit just a little hold on, almost like a little punch. And I guess I just do that kind of subconsciously, but maybe aim just a little left and just kind of hold the angle maybe slightly more. Finish maybe slightly shorter
and
here.
It just bleeds right a little bit.
It'll just drop slightly right, but I definitely won't try and fade an iron too much, just because it's very comfortable for me to just kind of allow it to fall left.
All right, let's go to the driver a second now. Because, with the driver, when I think of Russell Knox with the driver, I think of you living from the fairway, right? Like your game, you're going to hit a lot of fairways.
Yeah.
I would say you're a great iron player. And that's kind of, if those two things are clicking, right? If you make some putts, you're going to be right there come the weekend.
True, especially because iron play's always been my strength.
Okay.
So if I'm in the fairway, then I can use my strength. I'm not comparing myself to Tiger, but kind of the way he's played recently when he has been able to. If he's in the fairway, even if he has 8-iron, 7-iron, he's so good with those shots that he can compete. So like you look at some of the stats now and guys are like just send driver into the rough. That's hopeless for me. I don't feel like I can play golf from just whacking it up there. I need to feel like I'm in control with the driver, and then I can be in control with the iron. So, yes, when I've played my best over my career, this driver has been definitely a weapon.
It's something about the water here in Ponte Vedra, because you're all like great drivers of the ball here from the fairway. Like, I worked with Fred Funk years ago. I'm not sure that guy ever missed a fairway. Calvin Pete, the great Calvin Pete, that guy never missed a fairway. All these guys live here. Russell, I mean, y'all like
Jim Furyk.
Yeah. I mean, that guy.
I actually played one day out at Pablo with Jim Furyk, Fred Funk, and myself, and I think at that point I was top 10 in driving accuracy, and I was the worst driver of the group.
I'll never forget one time Fred played in the Corn Ferry Tour event, and I caddied for him, and it was right after he won a Champions Tour event, and they played local guy. And he hit the ball 4 straight days on the dogleg right on the Valley course, which is number 5 with the water on the right-hand side.
Great hole.
Very tough hole. And he had to take the corner. He had to take on the left bunker because he couldn't, it's just way too far over here for him. So what the tee was, he hit 4 balls, and I am not kidding you, the balls were damn near in the same divot.
I believe it.
I mean, I have never seen anything like it. Like, I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I'm the only one that actually got to appreciate like the collection of these 4 balls. It was amazing. So, keys to driver. I mean, is it the same as far as like balance, shoulder to shoulder? I mean, what are you going to do different here at address maybe with the driver, say versus the iron to hit some fairways?
True. I mean, and everybody's different, you know, about this. Like, especially now, the kind of the more modern player is stronger, lots of speed. Like, everyone's been fitted great for their driver on the machines, and it's just launch it. I've went down that path. It's great, but for me, I need to dial it back slightly, try and be in control. And like I said, I play my best golf when I'm getting the ball in play. So just getting up and smashing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but still for me, balance, tempo, tension.
Okay.
I've worked with Lynn and Pia from Vision 54 for a long time.
Yep.
And they've just drilled that into me. And like, I always say, like, if I go out there and we played right now or here, I'm never going to hit like that terrible shot. But in a tournament, when I have tension or I'm swinging too fast, I definitely am capable of hitting a very wide shot. So if I'm here right now, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm not going for mega distance. I like to get the ball nice up in my stance. And I'm just trying to, especially starting off here, make nice tempo golf swing.
That's a good point. I've noticed with you, you do play the ball forward.
Yeah.
A fair amount.
Yeah, I like that. I've worked with my coach Mark on that. Like, we like to use the term like chase it.
Okay.
Like, the further back the ball gets for me, I have a tendency to try and help it a little bit, and that's always been one of my downfalls. So even sometimes we'll practice the ball kind of way up to feel like I can extend and move everything forward.
So that's a good point for our audience, and that goes for irons too. If you're a player that backs up, right? If you're kind of backing up this way, number one, if you back up, you better have some shaft lean. I mean, if you're backing up, you better have some shaft lean. But even with shaft lean, at your caliber, and even with low single digits, when they back up, they can lose control of the face a little bit. So by moving the ball forward, it's going to make you kind of go up and get it and cover it, because you can't back up with the ball up there.
Correct. I always say your brain is so smart. Like, you're going to make an adjustment. So yeah, if the ball's forward here, you're certainly not going to fall back. You'll miss the ball.
You're going to hit it over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and like, if I do get it too far back and maybe like lean, then my bad shot right now, especially, is if I come back and then the club face is open and I hit it off the moon to the right. So I'm working really hard right now and trying to square that face to get good start line.
Let's try one here.
Especially with the driver. So yeah, same kind of thing though. Like, I always like to kind of move, waggle a bit, ball up a little bit, but then just think nice kind of tempo.
See, I love that shuffle that you got going there with the feet. Like you're staying in motion.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, you don't just come to a complete stop and then go. Do that again.
Yeah.
Just go through your routine. Zoom in on this. Watch Russell's feet here. Do it again.
I do see some people very kind of stagnant, but if I'm over here, I'm walking in here and I'm constantly
Like a little
yeah,
dance.
like that shuffling. So my club will go down, and then I'll take a look, and then in there, and as I kind of regrip and I'm shuffling, the feet are moving for sure, and then go.
See, that's so good. That's so good. Now, with the driver, same thing, little draw?
I'm in constant debate with that. So even right now, yes, I would like to see a draw. I mean, when I'm swinging at it, my best, I look at that, but even my best years, maybe 2016, 2017, I was hitting a little fade with the driver, draw everything else in the bag. So there might be something to that, but I do like to see especially with my speed. I mean, I'm a mid 60s ball speed guy, close to 170 at times. So if I can get nice spin with a little draw at that distance, that speed, I can still hit it out there 300 plus.
So you're about 290 on out there on the PGA Tour, which what would be 150th maybe in driving distance, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
290, 293. Fairways, top 20, top 30. You're looking at the guy living from the fairway, one of the most accurate players on the PGA Tour, really, from tee to green, with the driver in the fairway. And again, very underrated from an iron player perspective. Now, I know in your mind, you're like, perhaps at some point, you're like, God, if I just had 10 more yards. Have you went down that hole before?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked with Justin James here in Jacksonville. Long drive guy, obviously. And it was an unbelievably eye-opening, cool adventure. And we all have speed in us.
Yeah.
And quickly, too. In 10 balls, like 15, 20 yards. And which is cool. But I don't do long drive. I do get the ball in play, PGA Tour, trying to make a living. So for me, it was all about kind of finding the happy medium.
Did you get longer?
Nice. Yes.
You did?
Definitely.
You got longer through that?
Yeah, I mean, so right now in a tournament, I go on the shot tracker. I'm at 166 to 170 ball speed in the tournament on holes. I hit 179 ball speed for a couple months there.
Wow.
So yeah, I got much faster. But with that came, I was probably 100th in accuracy. I mean, I was all over the map.
So there was a little sacrifice there.
So yeah, but
what was the biggest thing? What was the biggest thing that you like? Okay, if I tap into that, I get another 4 or 5.
My old coach, before he passed away, would say this: if you're hammering a nail into the wall and you just put in this much effort, the nail's not going to move. But if you took the hammer and you put in more effort, the nail's going to go into the wall. And I think exactly the same with golf. Like you can think speed or whatever, but it just basically comes down to you have to physically put more force into hitting the ball to make it go further. So, of course, if you take a longer swing, you've got a chance to have more force into the ball. So yeah, we worked hard on fitness, trying to get a little stronger. And then, really load into the right side. Okay. Even the heel up, of course, has definitely worked for a lot of guys. Yeah. But yeah, and then just basically trying to program my brain just to like come in and smash that ball as hard as I possibly could.
So it was almost like, okay, a little technique, but it was almost like breaking through the internal governor.
100%. That Justin hammered that home to me from day one. He's like, you have to not maybe think golf swing. Think trying to send that ball down that fairway as fast as you possibly can, and your body figure out a way to do it. And once I hit 170 ball speed, find out a way to hit 171. Like just put more and more and more effort into it. And it's exciting. It's kind of fun.
I'm sure.
It's kind of fun to do it.
So would you say then, because then you got to transfer that to tournament play, because there's a genius, and I say this on the podcast all the time. Players like you, there's a genius inside. You're out there because you're a genius golfer. You're an expert. And you got to protect the genius. And then you're like, okay, I'm adding some things in, but man, it's not me. It's not me. Yeah. But that's cool, I like it, but can I transfer it and still be a genius, right, on the golf course? So would you say like the training is, bust through the governor, and then it's like, okay, then you get on the golf course and it's like, well, how much can I apply right now, Thursday morning at 9 a.m., teeing it up with Brian Stewart, you know, and whoever.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I mean, all the training, like if I was to hit 20 balls in a row here, I could get a ball speed number which I wouldn't get on the first hole on Thursday.
Right,
Just because, like, one after another, you're gaining that adrenaline, your heart rate's up. But yeah, in a tournament, all that training might make your average ball speed number higher than it was maybe before you started.
You're just hoping that there's some transfer there through the training.
Obviously, because if you were here just getting ready to launch it here and you had 100 yards, that's a lot different than if you stood here at 18th hole at TPC Sawgrass in a 30-yard fairway with water there and trees on the right. So, like, obviously it's going to be a little different come tournament time to kind of narrow it down. But yeah, when you're training for speed, you can't be thinking too much about accuracy because your goal is speed. If you want to do both, then your training needs to be a little different.
It's such an interesting conversation, and we talk about this a lot on Thursdays on the pod with coaches and even players on Wednesday. Like, you know, what are you working on? How do you transfer it? It's just, there's no perfect roadmap. You know, Ricky Fowler tried to make wholesale changes, didn't work. Jordan Spieth went after speed. He is longer now, but he sacrificed some years in trying to get to that point. He lost his game. He's trying to put his pieces back. Still don't think he's the same Jordan consistently than we saw back in 16, 17, and 18. And then you got Stuart Sink, who wins a couple times last year, and they're like, hey, Stuart, you got longer. What'd you do? Oh, I just actually got my head a little bit more behind the ball. You know, and it like transfers right away, 8 more. So there's great stories, and then there's a lot of stories where the genius wasn't protected. And so, but there's no perfect model on how you kind of get all that to mesh together.
I mean, you're right. I mean, as a great coach, like, you're constantly trying to help your students.
Trying to improve.
Yeah. And it's the same with me. Like, I work with my coach. I'm looking at stuff online every night. Like I said, I'm such a golf nerd. There is no secret, though, or else everyone would be much better. So that's what makes golf so exciting and so interesting.
The science is pinpoint. I think where speed comes from is pinpoint. But the transfer of a tour player and getting it to transfer to the golf course, there is no perfect formula to that because everybody's different. And I always say, look, man, that player's got to protect. I don't teach tour players now, but when I was younger, like working with Fred and some others, like I always respected when he pushed back.
Right.
You know, he would push back. I can't play. Okay, got it.
You're right, because being out there, you know, when I say out there on the PGA Tour trying to compete, it's different than hitting balls here.
Sure.
Like
yeah, there's consequence.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, I just had this conversation with my wife and coach yesterday. The thing I find difficult when I come home is that I can't create how I feel in a tournament when I'm practicing. So in a non-stressful situation, when I go out there and play today or when I'm practicing, I hit great shots. The last hole at Fortinet there, I hit a terrible drive, but I was nervous. Like, my body was like I could feel the electricity through my body. It's being able to control those moments at the right times that makes a tour player better than another tour player.
Yep.
And that's the exciting thing about golf. So if someone could come up with a way to practice like pressure moments when you're at home or in the range or inside here, they'd be a rich man.
Okay. So on that, I've got a little game for you. You ready for this?
Okay.
All right. So this game, Pellet Golf Simulator, it's called Razor's Edge. 5 rounds. Nice big fairway, number 1 here. Looks like 18 at Kapalua.
Yeah.
You're gonna hit this, coming in. Every time you hit it, it just keeps coming in.
Okay.
All right. $100, you can't go 5 rounds.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
I better not miss this first one. It's funny because my opening tee shot, I always I'll get on the range, I'll tee it high. Opening tee shot, I always just tee it a little lower, just like a comfort thing.
So that helps. So that helps kind of on top of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of squeeze it out.
I would definitely say I tee it some of the lowest of anyone on tour.
Interesting.
Sometimes I'll go real low and just try to hit that low little squeezer. But I also grew up playing in Scotland, so everything.
That's true.
Yeah. So okay, let's see if we can start here. Start in the fairway.
You might want to save that one for round 5.
Oh, that's a good start. Okay.
All right, there's number 1. So now check this out. Watch this. It's going to give you some points first.
Okay, 272, not too bad.
So watch this. Here we go. Round 2.
Oh yeah, it's bringing it in. Okay. It's pretty cool. So obviously, the longer and straighter you hit it, you get more points.
Right.
So that's good.
Right.
So.
But I like it because it's a game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey.
It's making you work.
That's the most important
Thinking coming here, we're just going to talk all day.
Okay. Oh, wasn't great strike. Hit it on the toe.
Gonna work.
Okay.
All right. So now we go round 3. So round 3, this is where things get a little bit tighter. This is like number 1 at TPC.
Which is a very difficult,
Very difficult, but
very challenging tee ball. So, okay, I like this.
there we go.
I see I got to work on my distance, but we're going for accuracy. Like I said, I'm kind of a ball up guy, so I'm kind of looking at least off close to the toe here. Definitely wouldn't want to get it too far back to promote steep. So you want to be up here. Right shoulder here a little lower than the than the left to help you feel like you were launching it. And then yeah, I mean just like you said, keep it kind of simple. I mean, I tried to be very neutral in my shaft here. Definitely wouldn't want it leaning forward here, not too far back. Just very, very kind of neutral. Hands in front here, down, and then just give you the feeling like you can sand the ball nicely up into the air.
The one thing Russell does really well, take your setup there, is when you turn to the top, watch his left shoulder. His left shoulder gets back behind the golf ball. See that? And that's a key. Set up behind it, turn the left shoulder behind it, and then watch when he comes back to impact, he still has a little bit of that side bend and his head returns back behind it. So I kind of like with the driver, like you said, set up a little behind it, turn the left shoulder behind it, and then keep the head right there in the same spot behind it.
Yep.
And that really helps at attacking. What is your attacking in general, usually?
I mean, I would say, especially if you're hitting a little draw, probably means hitting up on it slightly. I would say a couple degrees hitting up on it. So launching in that kind of 10, 11 degree window. But if I was on the last hole needing a par to win, the launch would probably come down slightly, be closer to 0.
Okay.
And
interesting. Tease it down a touch, nerves, kind of covers it a little bit more. Yeah. Hey, if you're a player who's hitting push hooks, that's good advice. Ball forward, tee it down a touch, go get it.
Yep.
All right, I got one more challenge for you, and then you're out of here.
Okay.
All right. All right, one more competition here. So this is where I grew up, just outside of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Floating green. You know a thing or two about the floating green here, TPC Sawgrass. 17th, T6, by the way.
Yeah, it was a great year.
T6, by the way, last year. That's a great tournament.
Thank you.
You like that course?
I do. It sets up well to my strengths. I mean, accuracy off the tee is number 1 at TPC Sawgrass, and then just keeping it out of the water hazards obviously is huge there. No, I enjoy it. It's a high stress course, especially towards the end there, obviously with the famous finish, and I enjoy that. It switches on my brain and concentration levels.
Yeah, I would think like the tighter, not too long, tighter, penal off the tee, right? Kind of a position type of plotter. That's Russell Knox going to go to work.
Yeah.
How many courses on the PGA Tour do you feel comfortable that kind of fits your mold?
I would say half of them.
Half of
I would
them?
say,
Okay.
but then there's also tournaments the courses that don't fit my game that I've played well in. Good golf is good golf.
Good golf,
So I sometimes think you can overanalyze it, and sometimes you can put more pressure on yourself, being like, okay, whatever, RBC Heritage, Hill and Head, all perfect course for me. I've had good finishes. So if you think sometimes it's too good a course for you, you're like, I got to do well there. So obviously it's just golf. If you play well, if you make the putts, you can score well. And like I said, we're being a pro for a long time. You should be able to figure it out any course.
All right, here we go. So we each get 2 balls, 137 yards, floating green. You already owe me 100 because you didn't get it on the right. All right, well, we'll call that a play because you did better than anybody's ever done. All right, so 137, here we go.
137.
Floating green.
Okay.
2 balls each.
Little indoor. I'm just gonna take a little, slightly choked down 9-iron.
Let's see. Oh,
there's the first crack.
Goodness gracious. Got to get up.
It's on board.
All right, it's on board. It's on board. T2. I'm in sack. T2.
Okay. You want to go again,
right,
or
go? We're going one more. We each get one more.
Okay.
I'm gonna pop my shoulder back in place before this one. Now, before you hit this one, I mean, I mentioned you finished T6, but back in 2016, do you remember what happened in the 3rd round?
No.
Before you hit the shot.
That'll be a moment, obviously, that I'll never forget.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, you hit the ball in the water on 17, and then you hit it again. I hit the ball. I've played 17 probably, I don't know, maybe 30 times. And I think I've hit the ball in the water 14 times.
I had never hit it in the water before that day, and I did it 3 times in a row in 2 minutes.
How mad were you? You don't get mad. Were you mad there?
I mean, it's a feeling which I remember vividly because I was close to top 5 Saturday afternoon. I mean, I'm in contention to win the Players' Championship.
Right.
And I remember the pin was front left. It was like 128, 127, something like that to the pin, which was just a perfect pitching wedge for me. I remember I hit it like half a groove high on the face. And it was straight at the pin though, and it caught the top of the wood, came back in the water. So I had never hit in the water there, so I'd never been to the drop zone, even when I'd played there for fun. So I was like, same shot, just don't hit it half a groove high, and I'm going to be on the green. At this point, everything was racing, and then I almost hit it in the flowers. So.
I'd say 14's probably, I would say probably 14's the line. I'd say probably like 8 or 9, but 2 of the times I did the same thing.
Right.
So 2 of probably the 30 times I hit 2 or 3 in that day. And then another handful of times I hit 1 in. And that back right course pin, you're like, oh, you got to go for it. I mean, you're only playing it. Everybody's going to aim at that, right?
Exactly.
And you just barely, you know, like those guys that fit it in right of that flag in that water, that's crazy stuff there. There's not much.
That's a mistake, though.
That's a mistake,
like,
There's not much. Ricky did it 3 times when he won. 3 times in a row.
If you look, though, that year, I think he just fell on the perfect club.
Did he?
And I mean, I'm not going to speak for him, but it looked like he just had the perfect club. He was obviously feeling great. He was playing great, and he just had like a perfect yardage to go let one go. And when you're swinging great and you have a nice yardage, go for it.
Yeah.
All right. That's how you win tournaments.
Here we go. One more. Floating green.
Okay.
Looking for 2022 vibes. Oh no. Oh no.
Okay.
Oh no.
I better.
Oh no. Oh no. Is 4 feet any good? Okay, got to beat 4 feet. Oh, I hit it fat.
Oh.
Get up.
Oh.
Get up.
Oh.
I hit it fat.
Look just like me.
That's why he does what he does, and that's why I do what I do. Russell,
very much, Ross.
thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
PXG has done it again with the launch of a new lineup of drivers, fairways, hybrids, and irons. The new Gen 5 golf clubs deliver significantly increased MOI, faster ball speeds, longer distances, and tighter dispersions, all coupled with the exceptional feel and sound golfers have come to expect from PXG. Schedule your custom fitting or buy online at pxg.com.